Good evening, folks. Another week over and done with in 2020, and I will thank several deities I don't even worship or never have worshipped when it is done. Uh, as you can see, I got my Halloween decorations out early this year because I got sick and tired of putting the damn things out, and then a couple weeks later, I got to take them back down again. So I was like, screw this. First week of September, I started putting these out. Out here in front of the old homestead, hanging with the clowns, the ghoulies, and the ghosties, and the killer dwarves, and shit like that. But the reason why I've titled this video the title I gave it, Hello, is because somebody, your friendly neighborhood idiots, you have to love the internet because it's the only place where shit floats more than your toilet bowl or your septic tank or your local sewer line, especially in the Doctor Who news department. Somebody's been running around spilling this story that there's even the possibility that because of the COVID thing, that somehow they're only going to do a half a series of Doctor Who. They're either going to do a split series for 13, and they're going to keep Whittaker for the first half. Then they're going to regenerate her and replace her with Gillian Anderson. Oh, Jesus H. Jones. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Kids, how many times have we heard the name Gillian Anderson associated with Doctor Who? Anybody remember the last time? I do. It was when the damn Mirror was saying she was going to replace, or she was going to be the main villain for the end of Series 5, and she was going to play the Ronnie. Now, that's back in the days before Nicola Methvin and all that stepped in, who, I actually believe some of the stuff she says. But other than that, anything else in the Mirror is pretty much toiletries. But where are they getting this nonsense? Have they seriously gotten to the point that they're tugging at the end of the rope so hard that they're making up stories now just to make themselves feel better? Folks, as far as I know, they're not going to pay Jodie Whittaker a full series of pay because guess what? She's already under contract for Series 13 to just come in and do half a season. And Gillian Anderson, no, the rumor that's years old, Kevin's the one about Gillian Anderson becoming the Doctor, which is what they're saying. That Gillian Anderson's going to replace the Doctor for half a season, and that way they can get away with having a celebrity in the TARDIS and yada yada yada. And like nobody who's ever had the role has not or did not become a celebrity themselves. But this is just plain getting silly. Have they literally gotten so desperate now that they're just making up shit to fill up the space? I hate to say it, but yeah. Yeah, it's not that Gillian Anderson couldn't do it. But, it's no disrespect to Gillian Anderson in any way. I've seen her in many, many roles, since Dana Scully back in the day on X-Files. And she's a very capable actress, but she's not going to take the pay cut. And I keep telling people that, especially when I do like pick 3 lists, like I did the one year. I said, look, do a wish list, do, who you think would be obtainable and, who you think they're actually going to get. Because there are certain actors that are not going to take a pay cut to work on a show where you got to film 10 or 11 months a year. Especially for not 240K, pounds. And let me set this thing down for you. Can you see me okay? Good. Now, you can probably hear them crickets a chirping, can't you? That should be the sound you're hearing on all these other hate channels, but sure enough, they promo their stuff. They walk around like it somehow makes their, willies wiggle, making up nonsense and, just plain spewing hate. And it just amazes the shit out of me. Now, yeah, I like Jodie Whittaker. That's what I mean. I don't know what the point is. I think you nailed it, Fez. They're just out there for clickbait. They're out there, to make their money, and they don't care. I bet you anything, secretly, they're all doing weird things to themselves while they watch Doctor Who. Jodie, oh yeah, wiggle it for Daddy. Yeah. See what I mean? It doesn't make any sense to me. How can you sit there, review every episode, stamp up and down like your eyeballs have been gouged out by watching it, and then keep watching every episode? It doesn't make any sense to me. If there's whatever happened to common sense where you didn't like something, you just change the channel. It's not like there's not a billion other programs out there to watch. And then, and as I said before, I think it was in a comment on Facebook, if they think Doctor Who's too woke, PC, and filled with virtue signaling now, as it is right now, tell them to go watch something on Netflix because they've gone hog wild freaking crazy. I still can't believe that whole Cuties movie thing. What the hell were they thinking? I'm not kidding. Someone should have been taken out around the back to the woodshed and spanked on the ass. But then again, given the fact they made the movie Cuties, they may actually enjoy that. But, everybody hearing me okay? Because I sat the phone down because that way I don't strain out my arm, and strain out my arm. I wonder how. I got to get a sunshade put up here. It's not too bad out here, though, because it's not, like, thunderously hot today. And that's what I like. It's nice fall weather out here. We're looking at, like, highs in the 60s at most. I just really, really enjoy this time of year because, summer is a great time to get out and do stuff. Don't get me wrong, but fall time, it's a nice time to get out on the porch, sit, and not bake your brains out. Sit here and actually feel as your brain matter is boiling out your ears because of how hot it is. Yeah, global warming, and it went down in the 30s the other night out here. And this is like September. Normally in September we stay, pretty warm. Also, there's still this debate going on, and like that, they put an article out in Radio Times about Sacha Dhawan's master and where he fits in. It's like, guys, they confirmed it back at Gallifrey 1, the year he was put out there, that he's post-Missy. I don't know why there's a lot of people out there who have it in their head that Missy was going to be the final incarnation of the master. Now, as I said before, Moffat has stuck his proverbial penis into the cannon so many times and tried to wiggle things around so that way he can say, oh, look at what I did. But there's no way that Missy was going to be the last incarnation of the Master. I love Michelle Gomez's performance as Missy. I thought it was a great, great era, between her and Capaldi, the way they bounced off each other. And it's like, but she was not going to be the last incarnation. Come on. Well, that she was supposed to be dead impermanently. I go, yeah, if I had a nickel for every time the Master was supposed to be dead permanently, I'd be a frickin' millionaire by now. I'm not kidding. We're talking the Master has a full-blown, master's degree. Get it? Master's degree? From the Jason Voorhees Michael Myers Institute of Immortality. You're never going to kill that guy. Yeah, it was... Well, they did have a year off. Or last time they revealed Missy, that's right, was in... Yeah, and it was almost a year later, and then, he wasn't in Series 11, so I don't see how it's too soon. Now, how can you say Master showing up a couple years later is too soon when all the way back in the Pertwee era, the Master was there for a whole season? And, like I said, I have no problem, especially since Dhawan only appeared, during the beginning of at Spyfall Part 1 and 2, and then, of course, he popped up back later for the final two-parter. It's not like he was there the whole series. I loved his performance as well, because his was kind of a combination deal, but a lot of people are like, but I thought that Missy had come so far. I go, yes, but what if you were the Master? Now, I want you to put yourself into the mindset of a genocidal madman / killer villain who's just plain psycho freaking crazy nuts. Now, you've finally started to rehabilitate a little, all right? You've seen maybe a little bit of the error of your ways, okay? Then, as you're dying, and I think this is my theory. This is not on screen. This is what I think happened. As Missy was going into the whole death experience thing, it triggered the memory of the timeless child. And the master, wondering what the hell this is, went back to Gallifrey to find out what it is. Find out what's going on with this. And just finding out that the very people who were telling you you were insane, you were doing wrong, you were the one who was on the wrong side of history, so to speak, and you find out they're a bunch of lying hypocrites who've been teaching you nothing but lies since you were a kid. These are the people who were judging you, and they were outright lying. Now, isn't that enough to make you go just a wee bit insane? Not to mention the fact that he found out, of course, that because of the whole timeless child DNA thing, the only reason he's even still around, besides the fact that the guy, like I said, can survive anything, is because his regeneration ability comes from the Doctor. That's enough to drive anybody batshit crazy, especially with the Master's obsession with the Doctor. So, that's just me. Like I said, do your own thinking, but that's my theory on it. Also, given what we've learned about Tete, how many here remember back the timeless, no, not the timeless, I screwed myself over. How many here remember the Five Doctors? Anybody? Watched the Five Doctors recently or remember the whole gist of the episode? Okay, because this is something that popped into my head, right? During that episode, the what do you call it? The Castellan was set up by Barusa. And they found that little chest in his room. And they opened it up. The Black Skulls of Rassilon. This is forbidden knowledge, right? Wouldn't it be funny if they found out that the Black Scrolls of Rassilon had the tale of Tecteun in it and all that? And remember, it's self-destructed and burned for anyone who could read it. Doesn't that bake your noodle a little bit? Thinking maybe the Black Scrolls of Rassilon told the tale of Tecteun and the Timeless Child? Would explain why it was forbidden knowledge, wouldn't it? See, I'm sticking my own little willy into the Doctor Who timeline there. Well, wait a minute. Oh. Sorry about that. I got graphic. Okay, so yeah, a lot of stuff drifting around right now because nobody really knows what's going on as far as Doctor Who goes. Now, originally I was here in November, possibly January. Now they're saying sometime next month, but Ray Holman, the guy who does the costume design, is tied to a project currently that's going to take him all the way towards November. Interesting. Timeless Child is the Candyman. Yes, but Candyman Doctor Who or Tony Todd Candyman. Okay, now, I haven't listened to the Missy Series 2 or whatever everybody's been going on about the Lumiat thing yet. I've fallen a little bit behind on my big finish. I've been, listening to some other stuff and things along that line. Who knows? No, I think it'll be in 2021, but it'll be late 2021. Probably fall again. And that's another thing I love about the naysayers. They suddenly became media and merchandise export experts. Money, they're losing money on the on all the stuff. Nothing's selling because of Jodie Whittaker. And I'm like, no, Idjit, I can tell you exactly what happened. It's the same thing that happened to my local Hobby Lobby, which used to have the most Doctor Who merchandise under one roof. Well, other than a couple of the flea markets here where I picked up some stuff. And what happened was the Avengers and all that, and those movies hit. Black Panther and all that. And everything they had that was Doctor Who in the one aisle is gone. Replaced by DC and Marvel merchandise. Now, we never had much in the way of action figures. Matter of fact, I think the only place that had them was Toys R Us but Toys R Us went under. So that killed that. The only thing I've been finding that's Doctor Who related lately around the home area is, like I said, the coffee mug and the Christmas ornament of the TARDIS, and it don't even light up or anything. Now, here's the thing about the Christmas Day rumor. Now, they're claiming, as I said in the last video, a source told BBC's Own that they were considering having it and that it had not yet been decided, which means that right there kind of tells me somebody's yanking something out of their butt. Because right there in the very first paragraph, you've already established your escape clause in case this turns out to not be true at all. And should, Christmas come around and nothing airs, and you're waiting to New Year's Day, now they're going to go, see, I told you they were considering it, and then they hadn't decided yet. So that right there kind of tells me I'm remaining doubtful. Until I hear something from the big, the BBC. I almost said from the Big Finish. The BBC. Or I hear something from a source that's reputable. I have one or two left that are reputable. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you. It's just when the new regimes came in, a lot of people left. Like I said, I had one guy that used to tell me stuff was a security guard, and like I said, the problem is they got so clamped downy to the point that they were making life unbearable even for security. So he went off to another company and formed his own with his buddies. And what makes me die laughing is not even a few months later, guess where they were at? Anybody want to take a guess before I say it? I've said it before, so if you've been watching this channel, you should know the answer. They were over at Pinewood Studios on the set of the frickin' Star Wars sequels. So they lost Doctor Who and they ended up working over at Star Wars. But the problem is he couldn't tell me anything about that either, because you basically have to, when you work for Disney, you got to sign over your soul, the blood of your firstborn child, and things like that. So, like I said, I'm not going to lie to you. I only have one or two sources left that I consider to be reputable. Everyone else, like I said, I've had people throwing stuff at me trying to see what'll stick, and I'll say on the air for years. I've already told you the story about the guy who contacted me during the 50th anniversary year and blew so much smoke up my ass I didn't have to smoke for a week. But, ugh. The sun's finally going down. Lovely sunset out here today. Whithouse was already asked, and he ran. All right, let me say this again, because you obviously missed one of my previous videos. One of the first people they asked to take over when Moffat left was Toby Whithouse, and he ran for the door like his ass was on fire and his hair was catching. Hell no, because nobody wants the job. You've seen what happens to anybody. They started turning on RTD, not even, I think, the end of Series 1 online. Moffat took over, and they were up his ass so far, they were practically telling him where his polyps were. Not even his first series out. It got to the point he was receiving death threats and all that against him and his family on Twitter. That's why he left social media for the longest time. Now, he is back, but he's only on Instagram. I think it's Stephen W. Moffat. It's all one thing, all lowercase. Him and RTD bounce comments back and forth off each other all the time. And that's the only place he's online. He did have a temporary account so they could do the watch-alongs, but he shut that down immediately after the last special that he did aired for him. Oh, it's a beautiful evening here. Not too hot, not too cold. The bugs aren't biting yet. You can hear the crickets chirping more than likely. I keep forgetting how sensitive the microphones are that they put on these iPhones. I have an Android, that they have now. Much better than the old days. Well, it's a combination of factors as to why no one wants the job. For one, you have the boys on floor 6, as you just mentioned, the guys over you. Everybody keeps forgetting that you may be the showrunner, but you're an employee at the end of the day. You're doing a job for somebody else. And if they mandate you have to do something, you have to do it. Like, let me give you an example. Now, if you remember that one year with Capaldi, they were putting out all these photos, like Katie Manning visited him on the set, Louise Jameson, but the one that really broke his heart was when Carol Ann Ford visited the set. And she basically, he said, look, we've got to have you back. And she said, I would love to do it. And then Peter Capaldi literally danced around the TARDIS set. We must have her back, we must have her back, we must have her back. Moffat kind of nodded because he knew in his heart of hearts what was going to happen. The guys on floor 6 put the kibosh on that. Matter of fact, that's the reason why you saw 0 past companions in the Day of the Doctor. You only saw their frickin' pictures. That was the boys on floor 6. That wasn't Moffat's call. I got that from 2 different people who said that they talked to, I think it was, I want to say Fraser Hines and Wendy Padbury at a VIP event at a convention later on down the line. That was about a year or 2 later. Sorry, it was 3 years for anyone finally started talking. That's right. And they said, yeah, we talked to Stephen, and Stephen said, BBC said, the guys at the BBC said, no past companions. And the only doctor they were going to make allowances for, of course, was Tom Baker, because Tom didn't appear in the 5 Doctors, and he always regretted that decision many years on. And he was also recognized as the first quote-unquote international doctor. Even though Pertwee, they did try to air Pertwee over here on television on a regular network. I think it was NBC, but don't quote me. I can't remember off the top of my head. But the problem is they were showing they were showing it in serial format. They were showing this thing out of order, and then they wonder why nobody caught on to it. Also, but when the PBS station started picking up Doctor Who, if I remember right, they started with Tom Baker, and Tom Baker took off like a bat out of hell there from the, public television viewers, and that's why, I think they pretty much said, okay, Tom being the oldest living doctor, Tom being the first recognized international doctor, has got to appear, and they gave him a whopping 3 minutes. But I can understand why Tom's not a spring chicken anymore, and if he had appeared for any more than that, it would have leaked out, which is kind of funny as hell, because it was Tom Baker who leaked it out the same week it was going to air. He went out in the press and said, yep, I'm in it, which made me die laughing. Yes, as a showrunner, you do have some power, but my theory is I think the only one who had the most power was RTD, because back then they didn't think he could pull it off. They didn't think Doctor Who was going to take back off the way it was, and they said, okay, just run with it, we don't care. Well, what happened was, when RTD left, remember RTD and Julie Gardner were partnered up. And those two, like I said, there was over a course of years where every single year they put out Doctor Who, Torchwood, and the Sarah Jane Adventures and didn't miss a single episode. Yet, nowadays, you're lucky.
DJ Steve asked if this was an ood.
Oh no, there's no ood outside. Sorry, I missed your question. It's just sometimes they go so fast on the Android, I don't get a chance to read them.
Ask him if he can see it.
No, it's a zombie. It's a hanging, part zombie torso with an arrow in his head. Somebody was asking if that was a nude. No, it's not. If you can see him now, he's not looking too good. The afterlife was not kind to him. But back to showrunners and what you face. And I think the only thing I can figure out is when new showrunners came in, and especially Chibnall, I think what it is the amount of power they had lowered with each one that came in. Because you'll notice, during the Capaldi era, you quietly lost 1 episode per season. There was no formal announcement for that. I don't recall them, being all over the radio times. You were getting an episode less. It's just Sorry, that's the way it is. And then Chibnall takes over. Oh, no, we're only doing 10. And then they wonder why the series is starting to go downhill. And by the way, the series started going downhill. If you go examine the ratings, you can go to like Doctor Who News. If you know where that site is, go to their guide. The ratings started slipping back during when Matt Smith was the Doctor. And it started with the damn split seasons, jumped years. Because when Capaldi came back after Series 10, for Series 10 after 2016, the ratings dropped almost 2.5 freaking million viewers. Sorry, 1.5 million, because they were averaging about 7 by the time they got to Capaldi. Just under 7 million. And yet, Jodie skips a year after all this time, comes back, gets roughly the same number. I think it was like maybe 40,000 less viewers. Averaged 5.46 for Series 12. And people are calling it a disaster. It's like, people, you're forgetting. This new incarnation of Doctor Who, I'm talking the show, has been on now for 15 years. Well, the 15, during the years actually airs. And it's going to happen over the course of a show. Especially when you're skipping seasons, especially when you're doing split years and stuff like that. Because people outgrow it, people move along, and if you take time off, out of sight, out of mind, they go off and they start watching something else during that time. And sometimes they'll get hooked onto something else, and that's what happens. You have to remain consistent. You have to remain on point. And another thing is they kept moving it around the damn calendar, and that doesn't help either. It used to be, it was what, every spring? Then it became this, then it became that, then it became fall. Then we went back to spring. And then you can't do that shit. You have to remain consistent or you're done. That's the nature of the beast in television. And that's what Doctor Who's suffering from, amongst other things. Now everybody wants to blame Whittaker and Chibnall. I go, yeah, they also blamed Sylvester McCoy and John Nathan Turner back during the ending days of the classic series. And we found out so much since then of what was actually going on. And it must have sucked too, because one of the big fears that Patrick Troughton had when he stepped into the role was that he was going to be the one who killed Doctor Who. Because he was he was the first quote-unquote, rejuvenation, they called it. And he didn't think people were going to accept him as readily as they had William Hartnell. And he was afraid he might screw it up. And every new Doctor who comes in, has that burden of responsibility, But you have to take into account other factors. Times move on. People grow up. People get older. It's a fact of life. Okay, now that I probably bored the shit out of half of you. I'll now shoot you the moon. No, wait. No. No, thanks. You'd definitely be hitting that button to send me money. You had to put my pants back up. No. Dr. Freedom just showed the Black Monster. Is that a shinker? Well, now that I got this thing about a half hour long, I'm definitely getting my mid-roll ads. And it's just amazing to me how many people are making so much money off spewing nonsense. Oral diarrhea, as one of my English teachers would call it. Ugh. Amazing as hell. It's times we live in. Any questions, concerns, and all that? Because we're coming up on the half-hour mark. And the sun's finally dropping below the horizon. A lot of people are so busy staring into their phones these days, they don't see that the greatest show in the world is right out here in front of them. Grass is growing, trees are blowing in the wind, birds are flying. You can hear the crickets out there chirping. Yep, I eat sushi a lot. Matter of fact, I was more than joyed and delighted because it turns out that one of our grocery stores that is about 20 minutes from here because of traffic, it's not exactly a long distance, it's just a lot of traffic to get there, has a lady who makes incredible sushi, and they sell it. California rolls, Philadelphia rolls, nigiri of all kinds, and they always give you a little fresh wasabi with it. Cobra Kai is a really good series. I'm glad it's seeing success. When I first watched it, I'm like, really? This has got to be a total nostalgic piece of shit. Then I started watching it, and I'm just amazed by the writing, the acting. They've put a lot of heart and soul into Cobra Kai. Well, folks, I think it's getting towards that time. I think I'm going to go ahead and head on in. Any questions, concerns? Remember, the Gillian Anderson thing, take as rumor for now. The split series thing, definitely rumor. And when I hear something from a reputable source or from the BBC, the BBC, you can't get it from higher than that, then I'll let you know. I want to thank everybody who came. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy this channel. Pass the word, pass the tapes, as they used to say on Mystery Science Theater. Because I'm going to go ahead and get inside now and enjoy a little bit of quiet time because I got to go to bed early for work again. So take care, everyone. I'll see y'all on the flip side, all right? Ooh. It's a beautiful evening, and I'm going to sit here and enjoy a few minutes of it myself. All right. Good night, everyone.